I never told my son I make $45,000 a month. His wife screamed, "Get out, you old man, we don't need your charity." My son threw my things out the door. A month later, I bought the house across the street. When he saw my name on the deed, everything changed. My name is Vincent Torres, and I'm 57 years old. That night, when my son stacked my belongings on his front porch like garbage, I was standing in 38-degree weather, wondering how my own family could treat me like a burden. The cold bit through my flannel shirt as I loaded my Ford F-150, each box feeling heavier than it should. But let me back up and tell you how I got there, because this story starts long before that freezing March evening in Portland. After 22 years in the Army, I retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2010. Spent most of those years in logistics, moving people, equipment, supplies across 3 continents. You learn things in the military that serve you well in civilian life: planning, patience, how to read people and situations. Most importantly, you learn that when someone shows you who they really are, you better pay attention. My wife, Richard, had passed away from cancer in 2007, 3 years before my retirement. Losing her nearly broke me. We'd been married 19 years, and she was the steady hand that kept our family grounded while I was deployed. After the funeral, I sat in our modest ranch house in Phoenix, Arizona, looking at 20 years of shared memories and wondering what the hell I was supposed to do next. Richard always told me, "Vincent, you plan your work and work your plan, smart woman." So that's exactly what I did. Instead of wallowing in grief, I took my military logistics experience and started consulting for local businesses. Started small, helping contractors manage their inventory and delivery schedules. Turns out, most businesses have no idea how to move things efficiently, but I'd spent 2 decades moving critical supplies under pressure. Word spread fast in Phoenix. By 2015, I was handling supply chain consulting for companies across the Southwest. By 2020, I was pulling in $45,000 a month. Not bad for an old soldier who never went to business school. The secret was simple. I applied military precision to civilian problems and it worked. But here's the thing about success. I kept it quiet. Drove the same 2019 Ford F-150 I'd bought when I retired. Lived in the same 1,800 square foot house Richard and I had purchased in 1995. Kept my lawn perfect, helped neighbors move furniture, and minded my own business. Most people saw a retired Army guy living simply. They had no idea about the business or the one-door $8 million sitting in various investment accounts. My son Timothy, 35, had always been a good kid. Smart as a whip, got his computer science degree from Arizona State and landed a software engineering job in Portland. We talked every few weeks, and I visited twice a year. He was proud of his old man's military service, always introduced me as my dad, the lieutenant colonel, to his friends. Those were good times. Then he met Amanda. Amanda was 29, worked in marketing at some tech startup, and had that ambitious energy you see in young professionals who think they've got the world figured out. She wasn't mean during their courtship. I'll give her that. She was careful. There's a difference. Mean people show their hand early. Careful people wait until they think they've got leverage. At their wedding in 2021, I caught my first real glimpse of how Amanda's mind worked. During the reception, she made a comment about how cute it was that I still lived in my little starter home after all these years. When I mentioned that the house was paid off and perfect for my needs, she laughed and said, "Oh, Vincent, you're so practical." Most people your age want to enjoy their retirement more. Most people my age, like I was already 1 foot in the grave. Timothy just smiled and changed the subject, but I filed that moment away. In the Army, you learn to catalog small things that don't sit right. They usually add up to something bigger down the road. The warning signs started accumulating during their visits to Phoenix. Amanda would walk through my house with this calculating look, like she was doing math in her head. She'd make comments about my simple lifestyle and suggest I should treat myself more. When I mentioned my consulting business, she'd nod politely, but I could tell she thought it was small-time stuff, maybe a few $100s here and there to supplement my military pension. I never corrected her assumptions. Richard used to say that people reveal more about themselves when they think you're not worth impressing. Amanda was revealing plenty. The visits became less frequent after they married. Phone calls got shorter. Timothy started sounding different, more careful with his words, like he was editing himself before speaking. When I asked if everything was okay, he'd say Amanda was adjusting to married life and finding her rhythm with the family, finding her rhythm. I should have paid closer attention to that phrase. Then came the phone call that changed everything. October 2022, a Tuesday evening. I was reviewing quarterly reports when Timothy called. "Dad," he said, and I could hear something in his voice, a rehearsed quality, like he'd practiced this conversation. "Amanda and I have been talking. You're out there all alone, and we've got this great house in Portland with plenty of space. Why don't you come stay with us for a while? Maybe make it permanent? The word permanent should have been a red flag. Should have asked more questions right then. But I was 56, had been living alone for 15 years, and the idea of being close to my son sounded good, real good. You sure about this, Timothy? I don't want to be underfoot. Of course not, Dad. We want you here. Family should stick together, right? Besides, Portland's great. You'd love the neighborhood. So I said yes, biggest mistake of my life, though I didn't know it yet. I spent the next 2 months preparing for the move. Sold my Phoenix house in December, got a good price, $385,000 cash deal that closed in 3 weeks, packed up my office equipment carefully. My entire business ran off those computers and external drives, 17 years of client relationships and logistics systems that generated more money in a month than most people see in a year. Timothy seemed genuinely excited about me moving to Portland. He called twice a week with updates about getting the guest room ready, about how much Amanda was looking forward to having me there. Looking back, I wonder if he actually believed that, or if he was just telling himself what he needed to hear. I drove to Portland in January 2023, my F-150 loaded down like a military convoy. Took me 2 days, stopping overnight in Sacramento. When I pulled into their driveway on Maple Street, Timothy came out grinning like he was 16 again. Even Amanda seemed genuinely welcoming, helping me carry boxes and asking if I needed anything. Their house was beautiful. I'll give them that. Classic 1920s craftsman with original hardwood floors, built-in bookcases, and a big front porch with 2 rocking chairs. The guest room was on the main floor, decent size with a window facing the backyard. They'd cleared out space in the basement for my office setup. Dad, this is perfect. Timothy said as we carried my desk downstairs, you'll have complete privacy down here, and the internet connection is excellent. Amanda nodded enthusiastically, and we hardly ever use the basement anyway. It'll be like having your own private workspace. The first 18 days were pleasant enough. I settled into a routine, up at 5 a.m. coffee, then down to the basement office for work calls. Most of my clients were on East Coast time, so I'd wrap up by 9 a.m. and have the whole day free. I'd help with groceries, cook dinner, occasionally tried to be useful without getting in the way. Amanda was playing the perfect daughter-in-law during this period. Asking about my military service, seemed interested in my business. She even suggested I should expand my consulting practice, since Portland had such a thriving business community. I should have recognized that for what it was, intelligence gathering. The pleasantness wore off exactly when I said it would. Day 19, Amanda mentioned that my early morning work calls might be disturbing their sleep. Their bedroom was directly above the basement, and apparently my voice carried. Of course, I said, I'll keep it down. I bought a headset, started whispering into my microphone like I was calling in airstrikes. Felt ridiculous, but I wanted to be accommodating. A week later, it was the light from my computer monitors. Amanda said it bothered her when she came downstairs to get water at night. I hung a thick curtain across the basement entrance. Then it was the constant phone calls with clients. This one made me laugh because I typically handled maybe 6 calls a day, each one worth thousands in consulting fees. But I started using noise-canceling headphones and lowering my voice even more. Each time I accommodated her complaints, Timothy would thank me for being understanding and flexible. I was understanding myself right into a corner, making myself smaller and smaller in my son's house while my business, the business that could have bought their house twice over me, not abided in whispers behind a curtain. The real problem wasn't noise or light or phone calls. The real problem was that Amanda had plans for that basement space, and those plans didn't include her father-in-law. I started noticing other things. How Amanda would change the subject whenever I mentioned business calls, how she'd make little comments about people our age needing to slow down and enjoy retirement, how she'd talk about her own marketing business like it was the next Amazon, when I'd seen her working maybe 10 hours a week on what looked like small-time social media consulting. But the biggest red flag was how Timothy started changing around her. He'd always been a confident kid, but now he second-guessed himself constantly. Asked Amanda's opinion before answering simple questions, apologized for things that didn't need apologies. I'd seen this dynamic before during my Army years. Watched strong soldiers get broken down by manipulative officers who used emotional pressure instead of direct commands. Death by 1,000 small cuts. The endgame arrived on March 15th, 2023. I'd been on a conference call with a client in Atlanta, major logistics contract worth $30,000 to my business over 6 months. The call ran 20 minutes long because we were finalizing details that could save his company $200,000 annually. Important stuff. When I came upstairs around 7 p.m., Amanda was standing in their kitchen with her arms crossed. Timothy was behind her, staring at the floor like it contained the secrets of the universe. Vincent, she said, and her voice had a different quality now, colder, more direct. We need to talk about boundaries. I sat down at their kitchen table, the same table where I'd eaten Sunday dinners for the past 2 months. What's on your mind, Amanda? This arrangement isn't working. Each word was precise, practiced. You're always underfoot, and frankly, we need that space downstairs. I'm expanding my marketing consultancy and need a proper home office. I looked at Timothy. My son was studying his hands like they held the blueprint for his future. Son, he glanced up briefly. Dad, maybe we can help you find an apartment nearby. No, Amanda cut him off. You don't understand the situation, Vincent. This isn't about schedules or compromises, it's about reality. She paused, and I could see her gathering herself for the killing blow. You're a 57-year-old man living off our charity. We've been more than generous, but we can't carry you indefinitely. You need to pack your things and make other arrangements. Tonight, the words hit me like incoming artillery. Living off their charity? I'd been buying groceries every week, offered to pay rent multiple times. They'd refused every offer, said family didn't charge family. Timothy finally spoke, still not looking at me. Dad, I'm sorry. It's not working out, and that's when I understood. This wasn't a family disagreement. This wasn't even a personality conflict. This was an eviction planned and executed by a woman who'd spent 2 months studying my routines, testing my boundaries, and preparing for this exact moment. I stood up slowly. I see. We'll help you find something, Timothy said quickly. Maybe something smaller, more manageable. Pack your things, Amanda repeated. Tonight, that's exactly what happened. Timothy went to the guest room and pulled out my suitcase like he was following orders from a superior officer. Started loading it with my clothes while I sat there processing the fact that my own son was helping to make me homeless. Then he carried my computer equipment upstairs, box by box. My entire business, 17 years of client relationships and logistics systems worth millions in annual revenue, stacked by their front door like items for a garage sale. The irony wasn't lost on me. This woman who made maybe $1,800 a year from her marketing consultancy was evicting a man whose business could buy her house with 2 months' income. The temperature outside was 38 degrees. I know because I checked my phone while standing on that porch, trying to process what had just happened to my life. My mind was doing what it always does under pressure, collecting data, establishing facts, maintaining operational awareness, even when everything else felt like it was falling apart. Timothy handed me my truck keys without meeting my eyes. I'm sorry, Dad. It's not working out. I loaded my truck in silence. Took me 3 trips to get everything. Clothes, computer equipment, the small box of military photos I'd brought from Phoenix. Amanda had disappeared back into the house, probably already measuring the basement for her expansion. I sat in my F-150 for a moment before starting the engine, looking at the house where my son lived. The same son I'd raised alone after Richard died, who'd called me his hero during his college graduation speech. The porch light made everything look yellow and cold. I drove around Portland for an hour, just thinking, not panicking, not getting emotional thinking. Richard always said the first decision you make in a crisis usually isn't the best one, so take time to let your head clear. Good advice then, good advice now. Finally ended up at a Hampton Inn near the airport. Paid cash for 3 nights and sat on the edge of that hotel bed, surrounded by everything I owned piled up in a room that smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and broken dreams. Here's where my military training kicked in. Instead of wallowing or getting angry, I opened my laptop and started a new document. Called it Situation Assessment. When everything feels chaotic, you establish facts. Facts. I'm 57 years old, in excellent health. My business generated $47,200 last month. I have $1.8 million in liquid assets. I have been told I'm a financial burden by a woman whose business probably makes less in a year than I pay in quarterly taxes. My son did not defend me. I was manipulated into selling my Phoenix house before being evicted. I do not have to accept this situation. I read it back twice. Then I wrote one more line. I have resources, skills, and time. Use them strategically. The next morning, I started my counter operation. First call was to Carl Morrison, who ran a property management company I'd found online. Needed a furnished apartment, month-to-month lease available immediately. Got something in the Hawthorne district, Carl said. 2-bedroom, good neighborhood, $2,400 a month plus deposit. I'll take it. Can I pay 6 months up front? Long pause. Cash? Cash? When can you sign the lease? I was moved in by afternoon. Nice place. Hardwood floors, big windows. More importantly, it gave me a base of operations while I figured out what came next. What came next was intelligence gathering. I called Luis Rodriguez, an old army buddy who'd started a private security firm in Portland after his retirement. Luis and I had served together in Germany, trusted each other with our lives on more than one occasion. Luis, I need some research done, completely confidential. What kind of research, Vincent? Financial background on a woman named Amanda Torres, age 29. claims to run a marketing business married to my son. Luis didn't ask why. Good soldiers don't ask unnecessary questions. Give me 48 hours. While Luis worked his contacts, I did my own reconnaissance. Drove through Timothy's neighborhood, noting patterns. Amanda left for work around 10 a.m., came home by 2 p.m. Her expanding business apparently kept banker's hours. I also started reaching out to my network, called Patricia Gomez, my real estate agent from Phoenix, and asked her to research the Portland market. Called my financial advisor, Barbara Chen, and told her I might be making a significant real estate purchase soon. Luis called back Thursday evening. Vincent, your daughter-in-law's business is interesting. How interesting. Her marketing consultancy generated $1,800 in revenue last year. She's got $47,000 in student loans, $23,000 in credit card debt. Her net worth is approximately negative $65,000. This woman had called me a charity case while carrying more debt than most people make in a year. There's more, Luis continued. I found some text messages between her and her sister from last November. Quote, the old man situation will be resolved by spring. We just need him to sell his Arizona house first, then we'll have the basement back. The timeline clicked into place like pieces of a puzzle. Amanda had planned my removal 4 months before I'd even arrived in Portland. The invitation wasn't family kindness, it was a trap. Get the old man to sell his house, eliminate his exit strategy, then evict him on their schedule. But Amanda Torres had made one critical error in her planning. She'd assumed she was dealing with a helpless old man who had no options and no resources. She'd never bothered to research who Vincent Torres actually was or what he was capable of. Time to show her the cost of that mistake. I called Patricia Gomez. Patricia, I need you to find me something very specific in Portland. I'm going to give you an address and I want to know what's available within direct sight lines of that property. Investment opportunity, something like that. She called back the next morning. Vincent, there's a house directly across the street from your target address. 3-bedroom ranch, $675,000, seller motivated. Been on the market 6 weeks, owners relocating for work. I looked at the listing photos online, perfect. I could see Timothy's blue front door clearly in the background of every exterior shot. How quickly can we close? Cash offer, no contingencies. Motivated seller. 2 weeks, maybe sooner. Do it. And Patricia, I want this purchase done through my LLC. Complete privacy until closing. While Patricia handled the legal work, I prepared for phase 2 of my operation. I also needed witness statements. Called Carol Manning, a neighbor Timothy had introduced me to during one of my visits. Carol was 68, retired teacher, lived 2 doors down from my son. Sharp woman who noticed everything. Mr. Torres, she said when I explained the situation, I wondered what happened to you. Amanda told several of us at the neighborhood barbecue last month that you'd moved on to assisted living because you couldn't handle independent living anymore. Assisted living, Amanda was already rewriting history, making sure the neighbors had a story that painted me as incapable rather than evicted. Carol, did Amanda ever discuss my living situation before I moved out? Long pause. She mentioned last fall that Timothy's father would probably be their responsibility for a while, but that they'd figure out how to handle the situation by spring. Handle the situation, like I was a problem to be solved rather than a family member. Would you be willing to write that down and sign it? Absolutely. What she did wasn't right, Mr. Torres. I've lived on this street for 12 years, and we don't treat family that way. On April 3rd, I signed the closing papers for 847 Maple Street. The Torres Family LLC was now the proud owner of a house with an unobstructed view of my son's front porch. Total purchase price, $675,000 cash. Amanda's entire net worth was negative $65,000, and I just spent more than 10 times her annual income on a house across the street. I spent the next week getting the place ready. New furniture, faster internet for my business, fresh paint in the office. I wanted everything perfect before I made my presence known. The discovery happened on Sunday morning, April 11th. I was in my kitchen making coffee when I heard a car door slam with authority. Not the gentle thunk of someone leaving for church, but the sharp bang of someone who'd just seen something that stopped them cold. I looked out my front window. Timothy was standing in his driveway, staring at my house like he'd seen a ghost. My F-150 was parked right there, bold as brass. The Torres Family LLC mailbox I'd installed the day before was clearly visible. Amanda came out behind him in her robe, and I watched her face go through several stages of realization. Confusion, then recognition, then something that looked like panic dressed up as anger. The knock on my door came 10 minutes later. 3 sharp raps that could have awakened the dead. I opened it wearing my favorite flannel shirt and my calmest expression. Timothy, Amanda. Timothy's face was doing 3 different things at once. Confusion, something like panic, and underneath it all, anger starting to build. "Dad, what is this?" "I live here," I replied simply. "You bought this house?" Amanda's voice was controlled, but I could hear the strain underneath. "The Torres Family LLC did, yes." I watched Amanda's brain working overtime, trying to calculate what this meant and what it had cost. The expression on her face when she realized her charity case had just purchased a $675,000 house with cash was worth every penny. "This is insane," she said, and her voice climbed slightly. "You can't just move across the street from us." "Actually, I can. It's America. Amanda, free country. People can live wherever they want, assuming they can afford it." Timothy stepped forward. "Dad, this isn't. You're trying to prove a point, but this is going too far. You need to think about what you're doing to our family." "Our family?" I kept my voice level. "The family that evicted me in 38-degree weather. The family that called me a charity case. That family?" Amanda's composure finally cracked. "You're doing this to punish us. You're a bitter old man who can't accept that we needed our space back." "Amanda," I said quietly, "I have documentation that you planned my removal 4 months before it happened. I have signed statements from neighbors confirming conversations where you described me as a burden you intended to eliminate. I have financial records showing your actual business income versus your claims about my supposed poverty." The porch went dead silent. A bird was singing somewhere, but otherwise you could have heard a pin drop. Timothy's face changed then. The anger drained out of it, replaced by something that looked like shame or maybe recognition. "You have 2 choices," I continued. "You can leave my porch and we can be neighbors, which requires nothing from you except basic civility. Or you can continue this conversation and I promise you'll find the next part much less comfortable." They left without another word. I went back to my kitchen, poured out the coffee that had gone cold, and stood at my sink looking across the street. My heart was beating faster than I would have liked, but I'd just faced down 2 people who'd tried to make me homeless, and I'd done it with facts and documentation instead of emotion. The weeks that followed were revealing. I focused on building relationships in the neighborhood, presenting myself as Vincent Torres, business owner and new resident, rather than accepting other people's definitions of who I was. Carol Manning invited me to the monthly block party. Jim Peterson, a retired electrician at the corner, started dropping by for coffee and conversation about military service. Turned out he'd done 2 tours in Vietnam. Maria Santos, who ran the neighborhood watch, asked if I'd considered joining the leadership committee. "We could use someone with your organizational experience," she said. "And frankly, it's nice having someone on the street who actually owns their home instead of just talking about it." Amanda tried to control the narrative one more time at the neighborhood association meeting in May. She made carefully worded comments about how some people move to neighborhoods for negative reasons instead of wanting to build genuine community. That's when Carol Manning stood up. "Amanda, are you talking about Vincent? Because he's contributed more to this neighborhood in 6 weeks than some people have in 3 years." The room got quiet, real quiet. I looked directly at Amanda. "Amanda, you told this neighborhood I was a struggling retiree who needed charity. You described me as a burden before people had the chance to meet me themselves. I'm simply giving them the opportunity to form their own opinions based on who I actually am." Timothy was staring at the table. "The truth is," I continued, "I've been supporting myself entirely since I left the military 13 years ago. I built a successful consulting business and own my home outright. I mention this not to brag, but because neighbors should know who they're actually dealing with." Jim Peterson looked at Timothy with the expression of a man thoroughly revising his assumptions. "So your dad wasn't struggling financially when he moved in with you?" Timothy shook his head slowly. "No, he wasn't struggling. That was the end of Amanda's information campaign and the beginning of the end of their marriage. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's showing people exactly who they underestimated and letting them live with the consequences of their choices. Never let anyone convince you that your experience, your resources, or your worth is less than what it really is, because when the truth comes out, they'll be the ones looking for a place to hide."